Hello, today in history, we're looking at how the British conquered Nigerian territories. The British conquered Nigerian territories through signing treaties, waging wars, establishment of direct and indirect rule. The British had a series of military expeditions to expand their area of influence. They used the local people and superior weapons like guns to conquer their desired territories. Most of the fighting was done by Hausa soldiers, recruited to fight against other groups. Lagos was the first territory to be conquered in Nigeria. The tactics the British used in conquering Nigerian territories was through getting the Nigerian leaders to sign treaties. They also used their military to wage war against them. They also established the direct and indirect rule. Now, the British used the indigenes of the territories, like in the north. They used the Hausa soldiers. They recruited the Hausa soldiers and used them to fight against other groups. In the course of all this, they also used in the Niger Delta. They also stopped. That was during the time of slave trade. They stopped slave trading in that area. This made them win the hearts of the people of the Niger Delta. So they made them see their own people as they turned the hearts of these people against their own people, and this was how the British came into these territories and won them over. Now, let's look at how British conquered these territories. Let's look at how the British conquered the Lagos and Benin territory. In 1861, Lagos was declared a British colony. Lagos was also used as a gateway to penetrate the Yoruba land. During that period, the Yoruba people were in a war that weakened their authority. The British used this as an opportunity to send a military expedition against Ijebu and conquered it. The next expedition was against Benin in 1879. Benin was destroyed and many of their artifacts were stolen and taken away by the British. The king, Oba of Oronwen, was exiled to Calabar, where he died in 1914. Let's look at how the British conquered the Niger Delta territory. In Niger Delta, the British sent warships to the coastal areas of West Africa to control slave trade. This provided an opportunity to make their presence felt in that region. The British involved themselves in the politics of the Delta area. For example, they dethroned the traditional ruler, Alele, and replaced him with William Pepple in Bonny. They also removed Jaja of Opopo for not allowing them to trade directly with the people in the hinterland. He was sent on exile to the West Indies. Nonetheless, it was difficult for them to enter the Igbo territories because they did not have a centralized political authority. So they attacked the Igbo communities one after the other. The Niger Delta area is surrounded by rivers, so it's a territory in the coastal area. And because this territory was in the coastal area, this was the point where slave trade was happening in Nigeria. It was one of the points where slave trade was happening. So the British came in there to control or stop slave trading there. When they stopped slave trading, they won the hearts of the people over, and this helped them to make their presence to be felt in that region. They started by removing the leaders of these territories. That was how they conquered this territory. Then it was not easy for them to conquer the Igbo territories. This was because the Igbo territories do not have a centralized government. Just a centralized government means having one person being a ruler of the Igbo community. Just like we have Oba of Benin, the Sultan of Sokoto, Emir of Kano. It was not like that in the Igbo community. The Igbo community had their leaders according to their territories, with leaders per territory. So they didn't have a centralized government, and this made it difficult for them to come in or penetrate the Igbo communities. So they now started penetrating the Igbo communities one after the other. And when they were done taking over these territories, they established colonies in Nigeria. They divided Nigeria into protectorates. That was the creation of colonies. Let's look at creation of colonies. They divided Nigeria into the protectorate of southern Nigeria and the protectorate of northern Nigeria. The protectorate of southern Nigeria is divided into the western colony and the eastern colony. The protectorate of southern Nigeria, that's the western colony. Lagos became headquarters of the protectorates in 1906. The colony and protectorate of Lagos and protectorate of southern Nigeria were merged into one administrative unit as the colony and protectorate of southern Nigeria. The southern provinces were Abeokuta, Benin, Ondo, and Oyo. Now, the eastern province comprised the Warri, Onitsha, and Ogoja. Now let's look at the northern protectorate. The north was administered as a separate political unit, and each administrative unit was divided into provinces. The northern province were Sokoto, Kano, Katsina, Borno, Bauchi, Zaria, Yola, More, Nupe, Kotangora, Ilorin, Nasarawa, and Munshi. Each province was under the control of a British resident. Under each province were administrative officers who controlled the districts and subdivisions of the province. In each of the districts, the traditional rulers and head chiefs continued to be in charge of their areas of authorities, but they reported to the district officers. The district officers were in turn responsible to the chief executive of Lagos colony. Now, the protectorate of northern Nigeria were divided into different sub-units, and each sub-unit had a leader. They used their natives as their leader, but these natives also reported were under the control of a British resident, and this British resident reported to the district officer who was the chief executive of Lagos colony. This has brought us to the end of this discussion on how the British colonized territories or took over territories in Nigeria. Let's look at the assessment section. State 3 ways through which the British conquered the Nigerian territories. Why was the Igbo community difficult for the British to enter? Drop your answer in the comment section. That will be all for today. Join us in our next demo.